We're Backward Studio. We're basically a team of three.
I'm the programmer in the team.
So I'm the sound designer.
I'm the artist, and I make what they make look good.
You're the first team I've talked to, and a lot of people in the indie dev space do talk about really liking small teams.
Working solo, it's kind of hard to depend on myself and my own capabilities in covering all aspects of game development and game design.
I think now that I'm working in a team that I can always rely on other people's talent, but also you always have the final say in every big decisions.
Yeah, definitely my biggest takeaway from there is just that you get to be more focused and you can learn faster. How do you guys come to decisions on what projects to work on?
We never decide ourselves, we let players decide.
We've got a very exciting episode of the Dev Dream podcast today. As you saw on that intro, my first team interview. So that is Backward Studio. And these three guys are recent college grads that all went to school together and are now have their own studio. Now, before you write them off because they are recent grads, they do have a client delivered project which they spent 2 years on, which we get into the details of, which was very interesting and pretty different than any other project work that I've heard of. So you'll have to wait to look ahead. And I also just got to pick their brain on how they have developed their systems as a small team, how they communicate and how they get stuff done, as well as, what are their thoughts on that compared to solo dev. So between that and the conversation about their client project, we had a lot to talk about that was really good, and so I'm excited to share this conversation. Before you jump in, if you're a lonely dev because you're a solo and not working on a team, well, the best place to solve that problem is by joining the new Dev Dream Discord, which is completely free to join, and the link is in the description. So we've already got people sharing builds of their games, getting feedback, and it's overall a pretty encouraging place so far. We've got about the first 100 members, and maybe you'll be number 101. Who knows? So let's get straight to this video with Backward Studio. I'm excited to share. Here we go. So yeah, well, welcome guys. Excited to have you. Normally I don't do like a full intro. I like to do that in kind of the opening with just myself. But I think for the audience, it would be helpful if each of you could give just a little breakdown of who you are. Feel free to introduce the studio if you want, and kind of who does what in the studio, just so people have some context.
Yeah. So we're Backward Studio. We're basically a team of three. And we've been working together for basically the past 2 years. But for the company side, studio side, we're still currently kind of working on it. So Eric?
I'm Eric. I'm the programmer in the team. I also handle most of the core mechanics and system design. So I make games.
So I'm the sound designer. I also do a bit of on the production side, a bit of work on the production side, but essentially I implement my sound and create procedural audio.
Yeah, and I'm Owen. I'm the artist, and I make what they make look good.
Okay, fantastic. In the middle, what was your name again? Sorry, I missed that.
Oh yeah, sorry. My name is Ron.
I don't think
Ron.
I've said nice. Yeah.
Oops. Yes, perfect. All right, we got Eric, Ron, and Owen here. Excited to have you guys Backward Studio. So I think a fun place for this video would be to chat about is that you're the first team I've talked to, and a lot of people in the indie dev space do talk about really liking small teams. So I think, one, I have several questions from viewers of the channel about what it's like on the team, and then also some stuff that I'm curious about as well. So just kind of framing this conversation, what are your guys' thoughts on what it's been like working on a team versus working solo? And even if you've never worked solo, just what are some of the benefits you see of working on a team in comparison to maybe being a solo dev? As that's where a lot of people in the audience are actually.
Yeah. For me specifically, I think it's best if we go through this one by one, but I'll quickly go through mine. Working solo, it's kind of hard to depend on myself and my own capabilities in covering all aspects of game development and game design. Specifically for me, at least, it would be like marketing and whatnot, because I tend to hyper focus a lot on the things that I'm at the moment doing. So with my team that I can depend on, Eric being the programmer, we just let Eric do his stuff. We let Owen do his stuff with art as well, and we just trust them, trust the process. Of course, it relies on a lot of trust. It makes it easier for me to be able to just focus solely on sound design, because that's kind of like the thing I'm really interested at. And probably for some developers, that would be programming or level design. And with a small team like us, it makes it easier for me to just, probably learn faster in what I'm interested in.
So just to be clear, like my definition of a small team is usually no more than 4 people, and now we are 3, so I think it's a small team, and it's been working really well. Like I've worked solo. Like when I started out learning the basics of tech game dev, I worked on tons of small projects solo, and I think now that I'm working in a team, that I can always rely on other people's talent, but also you always have the final say in every big decisions. So that has been the best part for me, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's just very nice because I've never made games solo. So for me it's just very nice. I can just work in a team, focus on the art, just do what I'm good at, and trust the others to make their stuff good. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely my biggest takeaway from there is just that you get to be more focused and you can learn faster. I mean, anything that you get to spend more time on, you can learn more about. So that's really great. And now we're going to jump into some viewer questions. I'll give a quick plug to the new Discord. If you want to ask questions of future guests, jump in the Discord. It's free. Link in the description. That'll be my only shameless plug of the day. So here we go. So Arnarb89 asks, how do you guys come to decisions on what projects to work on?
So if I have to be honest, we do struggle a lot on that part, because we have a lot of projects that we've made, especially as like a team that loves to do game jams and whatnot. But we don't really decide. And Eric, would you want to expand on that?
Okay, so we never decide ourselves. We let players decide. So we have a collection of pool of the projects we have, like different small prototypes, and we play test them with external players and also experts in the industry. And then we made the decision to like work on this another 2 weeks, and then we test again. And we dropped so many projects already. So we are trying so hard to land the final direction for the future 1 or 2 year, and to hopefully land our first commercial release.
Are you guys launching those on itch, or where are those going? And yeah, sorry if I cut you off. Feel free to just keep rolling.
Like our goal is to land our first commercial release on Steam, and on each page we have put quite a few prototypes already. They're pretty rough, but it's playable and testable. And so we've been also posting stuff on socials and just putting games on each to use the data from there to help us to make the final decision, basically.
Yeah, like the goal is kind of to have like the data to actually make a decision about what we can work on that will sell well, and that we can, buy dinner every once in a while.
And it really aligns well with our like situation and also where we are located. In the northern of Netherlands, there's a lot of not just in northern, but like Netherlands in general. There's a lot of events for us developers to attend, where there's a lot of other fancy developers that also love what we're doing, where we can just ask questions or like showcase our stuff. Basically in our workflow, we do test basically at least once every 2 weeks, where we there gather ideas, feedbacks, and also like showcase to the people.
So when you guys are in the showcasing phase, do you have any tips for the audience and maybe you haven't hit this yet, maybe you're still looking for it, of what does it actually feel like when you have a game that hits? Like, are you looking for more plays, or is it just a really big reaction, or what are you actually looking for in this showcasing phase to help you decide? Like, what is the data that you're trying to look at or get?
So the past few weeks, we've actually been quite struggling on that aspect.
Sure.
And how we decided on, because we throughout the past 2 months we worked on 4 or 5 prototypes, something like that, and we have trimmed it down to 2. And how we did that is essentially from when was that test test and show that was a month ago.
3 weeks, a month.
Yeah, a month ago, we showed 3 prototypes. So we don't show only one, we show like multiple prototypes at once. And then we basically judge based on the feedback that they give us. Well, on that time, that testing, we had like forms prepared. And what we got is that the other prototype, for example, gets a lot more retention, and the other prototype getting more, like compliment on like, hey, this looks good. So it did kind of like we did struggle a lot on that aspect. Like, hey, this prototype has their own like own traits, on like good traits, on positive traits, and the other prototype is like good at this. So for us specifically, we did kind of decide on motivation on that aspect. And if like, yeah, that's honestly that's the only thing we can think of at the moment, because it's really hard for us, especially in this phase, to find the data, the matrix that helps us choose.
Like as a developer, I'm pretty sure you're gonna get motivated if one player play your game for 30 minutes straight and cannot stop. So, and also like what we tested during the like play test is like we have different focus, right? Like for example, we want to test if this fantasy is good enough or the gameplay pacing is very addicting. So that's what we're trying to do, but you always want the fair comparison between different prototypes. That's the part we're kind of struggling right now, because the prototypes we've been making are like very different. Like they're totally different. Like we have a cozy balloon game where you fly a balloon in the
Air balloon.
yeah, hot air balloon. Like you fly a hot air balloon in the tiny open world settings. We have a very like how to say it, horror
Gore.
yeah, gore fighting game that you swap the parts on your face. That yeah, so it's like very different styles.
Yeah.
Yo, I love the different games. Yeah, go ahead if you had something else.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So our prototypes tend to be like very different, and it's hard to like mix and match like data. Like, hey, this is better than the other, because yeah,
It's rough.
it do be rough. But essentially, I think we look the most at player retention in this in these kind of testing sessions.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I especially imagine when you're diversifying across such different genres that maybe if the person is playing the same 2 games, maybe they're just a cozy gamer. And so they're going to like a worse cozy game, even if you made the best fighting game. So, okay, but that's cool. I like the prototyping. That's very smart. That's been a fun little topic on the channel I've gotten to ask people their opinions on. And overall, I think prototyping is the way to go. I mean, especially if you're not sure what direction to go. So that's very cool. Another question that somebody asked, KDPHD asked, how do you communicate during development, and what do you do if one of you starts to get off the vision for the game?
I think this is related to our workflow. So we are working in the office in person for the past 3 months. Like we found a office called Game Bakery. It's a organization in Groningen, our city, and there are a lot of other professionals. Also, I don't know if you know the game Outbound. The creator is also based in Game Bakery.
Oh, very cool.
So yeah, how we communicate, just we talk, because we sit together and we talk to each other whenever there's a problem or someone's stuck. And for the second question, like what happens if one person stray from the vision? I think we usually treat those as opportunities to discover a new direction, or because like usually there's an underlying reason behind that, like why this person think this vision is not good. Maybe he has a better version, or he think there's a specific problem that's stuck, so he couldn't progress on the art or other task that he has. And yep.
And to give context, in this office, we do work basically from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. So it's easy as like communication is as easy as just shouting Owen or something. Yo, the art, can you fix this like one little outline or something? So yeah, small details like that.
Yeah, very cool. And I'm curious about just a couple of the specific details of how you guys work. Have you picked a specific game engine that you all share?
Yeah, I mean, we've worked in the past with like different engines and stuff. And it kind of depends because if we're looking at, for example, just testing the art, then sometimes we pick Unity because we've used that like a bit more during our studies. So we're a bit more comfortable with it. But when we're actually working on the games, we tend to shift to Godot mostly, as it's very nice open source and
Fast iteration.
yeah, it's really fast. It's really fast.
Yeah, and then I'm also curious, another part of the workflow is, are you guys all working in Godot or Godot and then pushing updates, or is it more like we'll send all of our stuff to Eric and he'll put it in the game?
If they do that, I'm not gonna work with them. Yeah, like I'm the person who's always in the project, and like I also implement a lot of assets, but they put in the assets with a certain like naming conventions, their folders. Like it's still very messy, but like it because like if I when I was in a study, a lot of other artists they just throw a bunch of files through Discord and you have to download it and also put it in the project. That's not gonna work.
Yeah. And for me as well, like I work with a middleware, so I do tend to like prefer just me implementing my own sound in whatever logic it needs to be.
Yeah, very cool. I always wondered about how that worked as someone that has not worked on a team. But yeah, especially as I sit here and think about like, oh, that would be a lot of work for one person, even just moving all that stuff into the engine. So glad you guys have figured that out. Okay, carrying on. Code Monkey, yeah, that Code Monkey. He asked,
Whoa.
how do you guys decide on revenue share? And then he left a little note where he was talking about how, especially back in the Flash days, there was like this kind of community conversation about how in those days programmers did a lot more work, so they felt like they should get more money. So if you guys are willing, yeah, feel free to say pass if you're not comfortable talking finances. But how do you talk about revenue sharing?
Yeah. The past 2 years, we always followed this ideology of everyone gets equal. But we are well aware that we can all agree Eric works the most. Like he has to do the most, with the most stress as well with like the whole bugs and stuff. And we want to basically give more shares to Eric. Of course, we haven't really fully decided because we're still in the process where we're trying to set up like the whole cash flow coming in. We're not too worried about that yet, let's say. So but if it clears up your question, we probably Eric gets way more than we do.
Yeah, I sure hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, once you guys have made it big, we can come back and revisit the conversation and figure it out if you guys killed each other over it or not. So, did you have something to add, Eric?
Yeah, because like I think the Code Monkey he asked this question because he was talking about the project in Flash era, where usually you work on the project and you just probably not gonna work together again because we are working as a startup studio together and we have a lot more struggles over than just the project itself. And personally, I don't care about the share that much because if our game sells, then 30% and 50% doesn't make a difference because as long as you can pay the bills, then that's fine. I'm not trying to talk like a rich kid that doesn't care about money. Like I'm broke as fuck, but like that's just the case. Like if the game doesn't sell, 30% and 50% also doesn't make a difference because there's no money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good mindset in those early days, especially of like, well, it doesn't really matter how much we're sharing. It's already peanuts. But I imagine as you guys grow, it will become a more important conversation. So yeah, I was just curious. Thanks for sharing about that. Last kind of teamwork based question here. Humdella167 wants to know how you handle disagreements. So maybe this is still kind of the same as when someone goes off vision, but specifically they also were kind of talking through like if Owen has a really specific vision for art but you two don't, do you have like kind of a he's the expert in art, or do you do more like equal voting, or just how do you handle things like that?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because also how we used to sometimes come up with game ideas. Often what we do is we sit in a room, often this couch even, and we just pitch like the vision that we have for a game to each other. So we give a little presentation, usually with like one or two example images of like, oh, this is how the art could look, blah 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 blah, and then we kind of like, yeah, see if it works for the rest of the team, and often then it's already like, nah, that kind of sucks, and then we go back to the chopping block. But it also comes down to trust a lot, right? Like if, for example, Ron has a really cool soundscape in mind, then I'm more than willing to trust him with it and kind of see where it goes because, well, he knows it better than we do.
Also, another thing we usually do is, I think we also mentioned this before, that we make decisions based on the test results. So even though we all agree on this art style, but through the test it just doesn't click for players, then we're not gonna go for it. So yeah, disagreement. We do have a lot of disagreement and we argue a lot, but I think it's not bad. I think it's good. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree as well. Like it's fun to disagree sometimes.
Yeah, I actually think the more you can disagree in a weird way, as long as it's healthy, is actually better. Like it means that you're all able to share your vision, even if it is not the easy cookie cutter vision. And so I actually think that sounds really healthy. I've never worked on a team like in game development specifically, but in general, the environments I've been in where I felt like I could voice different opinions are the best ones. So yeah, that's cool. But that's pretty sweet. Now, the other interesting thing about you guys that you've done that I want to get a chat about that I think people will enjoy is that you've actually worked on a client project as well. So can you just give me kind of like the broad overview of what was the client project? Like what were you delivering and how long did it take? Just kind of some basics so we can understand what we're talking about.
Yeah. So, in our studies, we had to work with a client as a requirement, and we kind of like got assigned to them by pure chance. And what the client wanted basically was kind of like a marketing material for their company to basically stand out in specifically job fairs, but also back then it was in general like
Yeah, brand awareness.
brand awareness. So we had to make a game where basically like when people look at someone playing or when they play the game, they would know a bit more of the company and get interested to the company and maybe like engage with the company. So that's kind of the game that we made or pursued to make. And it was kind of like, I guess the simplest example, like simplest like description would be it's like overcooked style I wouldn't. Should we call French slop? Yeah.
I would argue it is French slop.
Yeah. And it gets Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think because like we kind of set the goal for ourselves to focus on interaction between people because the goal was to get people to the booth at like one of these job fairs. So we focus really on getting like fun interactions between two players, getting them screaming at each other like, "Oh no, you spilled the oil! Ah, how could you drop that in there?" Yeah, kind of getting them sparring, and that through that kind of get like people interested in what is causing all this commotion. Yeah.
Just a little bit more about the game itself. So it's one game, but we have 4 mini games showing different divisions and the departments in the company. So yeah, I think we definitely underestimate the the challenges at the start.
Yeah.
But like it's the first finished project and that we're all proud of. We all hate it, but we're proud to share it as a game. Yeah.
And the client project duration was around 2 years.
Yeah,
two and a half,
something like that.
something like that. We just finished producing for that game essentially in November.
Yeah.
I think that's the last payment we got from
Yeah,
them.
like November was the last like official update.
Yeah.
We handed them a USB with the game on it, and yeah, we handed like the client's USB with the game on it, and we said, hey, if there's any bugs, let us know. But otherwise, we will not be touching it anymore.
Yeah, it's super cool. The short videos I watched, it reminded me of a game called Moving Out, if you've heard of that. It's like kind of an overcooked style. Maybe that was just one department, but for people to I'll maybe try to throw some gameplay up. But like you're co-oping, it's kind of silly a little bit. Okay, that's very interesting. So this was a non-gaming company that was using this as like a marketing piece?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay, that's super cool. I didn't realize that. And in your guys's in your partnering with them, did you ever have any back and forth of what they wanted? Like, was there feedback from them, or was it just like, here's the project, go work for 2 years and give us whatever?
Yeah, there was quite a lot. Because, well, obviously, right? Like they're non-gaming companies, so they don't exactly know what they want. Initially, we were supposed to make a VR game, and well, as you could see, it was very much not a VR game in the end. Yeah, we had like quite good collaboration in that aspect because we kind of just said like, "Hey, we're the experts when it comes to games. Let us handle that part, and then we'll make sure that it's up to your standards, up to your like regulations." So in that regard, that was pretty good. And then like we just worked there at their offices. We could just knock on the door of the people that we needed, or like send an email using their like systems. So that was pretty good. Oh, things considered.
Yeah, and then did you guys all three always go and connect with them, or did one of you act as kind of a lead person in the, handling what they wanted or managing that relationship?
Well, it was kind of like at the beginning it was kind of assigned during the study that we had to do, like, hey, there should be one contact person, but in general, like, we all kind of interacted with everyone. Like, it's like one of those offices where you can just like walk into someone, ask a question. Like, it's very open offices, I would say, and people just walk into our office and ask questions as well. So it's very free, everyone knows each other. Yeah, there was no one person that kind of oversees the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a super cool relationship. That would be, I imagine, fun in some ways. You mentioned that, it started as a VR project and maybe you underestimated a lot of what would go into it. What was maybe just one or two of the biggest challenges that you guys came across in this project?
I think for me specifically was that like I was not entirely um well like adapted into making a game for non-gamers. And because of that, there's a lot of challenges that I did not foresee. Like, for example, someone picking up a controller is very like a very new thing for them. They don't even know how to move the character up and down. They don't know what a joystick is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When we pitched it to the CEO, at one point, like everyone, like for example, like there's like 30 people ish in the room. Like half of them are like executives, and they were behind, like all the way behind, but the CEO was in front playing the game, and like he did not know how to control the character. He just like he walks around and falls onto the sea, and then like basically like he wouldn't be able to finish the game. Let's say like the level itself, but everyone seemed like they had fun, which is something like that we saw was like, hey, maybe UX is not the like not our selling point, but it still kind of works, Yeah, that's pretty much for me, like the for me at least, the design challenge that we had to deal with, like the just how do we make the UX as simple as possible and the gameplay as simple as possible. And just so you know, we had a lot of mechanics back then. Like, we ended up stripping half of that away just to be able to get the players understand, like, hey, 2 button controls, joystick and A, that's it. um yeah, if that makes sense. Do you want to add something to it?
I think that covers most of it. I mean, there's like one thing, like a few things with like the clients again not being a gaming company. So there was like they had a few things that they wanted from the game that were either not feasible or just not practical or didn't function for the game. They didn't really like it when we were like encouraging the players to mess around and, for example, kick each other in the water because, well, you shouldn't do that when you're on a ship. But at the same time, it's common knowledge that you shouldn't do that, and like it makes for a way more fun and playful environment. So we decided to, for example, keep stuff like that in, obviously with while communicating to them about it. But yeah, like basically it was a lot of managing their expectations and trying to fit their goals in as best as possible.
Yeah, it seems like there would be so many challenges of trying to make a game for non-gamers essentially, and, potentially older people and all kinds of things. But I'm sure you guys learned a lot, so that is pretty interesting. I'm curious for each of you what you would say is just the biggest thing you learned or that you feel like you're taking with you that will help you in future stuff from this client project.
Yeah. For me specifically, I just know that I don't want to work with a big team. And I know that because for this client project specifically, we worked with 5 people instead of 3. So there were 2 other people that we worked with that was part of our team. And there's a lot more communication that had to be done, a lot of management that had to be done, and it was not necessarily my cup of tea. Like I just want to work and do stuff, and that's for me at least.
Yeah, for me, first thing is that I think I'm fine with working with these two again in the future. so, so yeah. And another thing is I saw the importance of deadlines and design challenges because right now, as we develop multiple prototypes, sometimes we couldn't set a list of design requirements for some of them, and it's so hard because there's no direction. But back then, we have the client always have tons of requirements for us, so we always have a goal to work towards too. And I think that's pretty good. And I'm pretty sure without the client, we could never finish that game because we don't have, like, they have so many deadlines for us. Like, we had to show this in this job fair in January or whatever. So, yeah, that's what we're trying to do right now for our workflow as well. We have a roadmap with tons of deadlines and events, dates on the roadmap as well. And I think that helps a lot.
Yeah, I think it's also for me, it was very much like it was our first game that was longer than one semester, basically, right? So, like, we spent, I think, 2 years on this. Yeah, that's a lot longer than any project I've worked on before. So it was like a real challenge to keep motivation up, keep like trying to work. So like stuff like deadlines helps a lot, but also like, yeah, showcasing it to people and having people be excited, like stuff like that is like really something I learned I really enjoy doing, and hence why we're now using that as one of the main things in our current workflow.
Yeah, one thing I took away from there was the value of having like deadlines imposed on you. Have you guys found any ways, and maybe you haven't yet because you're kind of in this prototyping phase, but have you found any ways to implement your own deadlines now that you're just a studio doing what you want?
Yeah. So in our kind of like timeline/planning, usually we try to achieve a showcase or a testing like milestone every 2 weeks. For reference, in 2 weeks from now, no, oh, yeah, in 2 weeks from now we have Godot come, and also what's the other one? The art department.
Yeah, there's like constantly events happening like in our like in the Netherlands, and I'm guessing that's kind of everywhere, right? Like maybe not as big of a scale, but there's always like local showcases or maybe something with like the local universities is hosting something. Right? There's always stuff happening, and we kind of try to go to these events, showcase what we were working on, talk to other developers, sometimes talk to potential players, and just showcase stuff.
And by that, creating actual like real deadline, because we've tried working with like made up deadlines, and that didn't go as well.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm also curious with this project, since it was a student-based project, did you guys charge any money for it, or did it have to be free?
Well, during the study itself, we kind of like did it for free, but we kind of like worked under their own, like we were employed by them, kind of.
So basically, the project had 3 phases. It started off as a regular student project, right? We were just at university working at our desk, being like, "Hey, yippee, game." But then we moved it to like an internship position. So started moving to their offices. We were there. It was a paid internship, which isn't like isn't a necessity in the Netherlands. So having like money for it at all was pretty cool. And then we moved it to basically like just being a regular employee of the company. We had a 0-hour contract, so we could work as much as needed for the prototype, for the game, for the current deadlines that we're working towards. And we had like an hourly rate of like I think about 17 euros, which is pretty good for a student who's expecting minimum wage.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys have made real money making games. I mean, that's already puts you ahead of a lot of people. So that's really exciting. Even if it was, whatever your expectations were, that's awesome. So, okay, now I would like to transition to just a couple of like specific areas. So, one of you might have more to say on each of these areas or not. Maybe all of you will have stuff to say, but starting with programming and design, which I know is more Eric's expertise, but like I said, feel free to share the mic as needed. What do you think is different about being a programmer on a team versus if you were trying to do everything by yourself? Is there anything, I know we kind of already maybe covered this a little bit at the beginning, but is there anything else thinking about programming specifically that you think is different on a team?
You like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, our TV is not working right. Okay, yeah, it's back. So I think the priority of the tasks is very different. When I work alone, usually want to lay down all the like code base structure first so you can easily expand later on. And that's just a stupid idea because like when you like because usually prototypes are not gonna go to that phase, and it's a waste of time at the first way you're trying to lay down all the like like the perfect code base, right? Like right now, our workflow is that every week we have our Scrum planning and we give out tasks and check our task so we can check each other's progress. So I have to update the game every week to a playable state. So it has to be playable always because like this they're gonna complain it's not working. Like I was like, did you pull? He's like, yeah, I put 5 minutes ago, but I just pushed 2 seconds or something like that. So I have to make sure that it's always playable. I think it's kind of stressful, but it's a good stress that I have to make sure the game is progressing, not just the code itself. So yeah.
And then also, whenever you're thinking about design as the programmer, how much are you relying on your teammates to push the design forward, or are you also kind of taking the lead on that as well?
Yeah, I think there's different parts of the design, like to set the fantasy and the aesthetic of the game. We do it all together because sound, art are heavily involved in those. But when it comes to moment-to-moment gameplay and core mechanics, I'm the one usually take responsibility on those. And yeah, that's how it works usually.
Cool. And then moving to art and environment. So Owen will probably have more to say on this. What do you think's different about being an artist on a team versus if you were trying to do everything yourself?
Yeah, well, first of all, I can actually focus on art. I don't have to do everything myself, and that is for me very much a big plus because getting a game to work is a lot harder than making something that looks nice. And I don't enjoy making things work. I just enjoy making things look pretty. So yeah, for me the big difference is just I get to focus on the art, get to focus on like implementing stuff myself and like making things look the way I want it to, the way like the game should look instead of like what someone else decides on and I just like throw something in and then hope it looks good.
Yeah, and then I was also curious. I know you said you don't just send a Dropbox full of files, but would you say that you're a technical artist? Like, are you actually going in Godot and moving things around and building the environment in Godot as well?
Yeah, so I would very much not call myself a technical artist in the sense of like I don't like go into the actual like engine and change the way like graphics are rendered, but I do play a lot with shaders. I do usually like try to be a big part of the level design as well, right? Because well, I will have to implement a lot of the assets that I made myself. No, I try to like I do shaders, I do environments, right? Like I do a lot of like more technical things than some artists might, but yeah, I wouldn't call myself a technical artist, but I am trying to slowly get a bit more technical.
Yeah, very cool. And then one more for Owen. Can you share just a little bit about your workflow? I actually haven't interviewed any artists specifically, so I need to get that maybe on the channel. But yeah, just what's it look like for you from the conception of idea all the way to putting something in the game? Just what's that look like?
Yeah, so it's very fun because it kind of depends on where we are in the process of a game. Usually it starts with figuring out like the actual direction for the game, right? Like mood boarding a lot, making like some small concepts or like mock-ups of what it will actually end up looking like. And then like with those mood boards and stuff in the back of our minds, I usually try to just jump in and start working on things, because I know that if I take it slow, it will take very long, and then I get demotivated, and then it's like, oh no, shit isn't happening anymore. So I gotta keep the ball rolling often, and it really helps when I make something. I throw it in the engine, and I play around with it a bit there, make some tweaks, and like that. Usually, I work pretty quick in like getting some early stuff implemented. Might not be the best stuff, but we can make it work later. That's usually how it goes. And then especially early on in the projects, right now, for example, I'm still in the phases of like implementing the environment shaders, right? Gotta have like optimized texture packing, gotta like try to squeeze out as much as we possibly can. So yeah, early on it's a lot of like shader stuff, figuring out foliage. Hey, how do we want to do these specific things? Blah 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 blah. And then later on, I get to focus just a lot more on like the let's make this high poly very cool in detail. Let's make this hero asset like insanely over the top. And I get to do those fun things, like cool stuff. I like it.
Yeah, that's very cool. And then for Ron, I know you do sound specifically, and then Eric also mentioned you handle sometimes like kind of management and marketing sort of stuff. So yeah, same question for you. Just kind of what's different about sound design and management since you don't have to do it by yourself?
Yeah. When I had to do stuff alone for my own projects, it's kind of like annoying, where I truly love doing the sound part and I just have to focus on some other aspect, process feedbacks and whatnot, and like I get drifted away from what I want to do. Of course, I really love the other aspects of game development as well, but essentially, like there are just times where I want to do some things and I just cannot because priorities. Um, and for marketing and project management, well, I guess I don't really have to do a lot of management other than I guess personal schedule when I'm working alone. But for marketing, if I have to say myself, I've never gotten that far in marketing for my own projects. It's usually just same workflow that I kind of like copied from my own, well, from where we work together and how we work together. I test it and I get feedback from it. But no, not marketing.
Yeah, okay, that's valid. For sound, I'm wondering if you do music, and do you make your own, or do you find it somewhere? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so I try to avoid doing music because it's not my cup of tea. And when I do music, because it's kind of inevitable, when I do music, I try my best to kind of proceduralize it because that's kind of like my workflow in sound design. I am the type of person that would like to just reuse workflows. And I don't really like to, get out the way and try different things when I'm not really like in that moment yet, right? Um, but yeah, I make my own music, if that answers your question. I try to avoid it though.
Yeah, what's one tip on proceduralizing a making music workflow? I actually get a lot of questions from devs about music because I think it's a really hard area because it's almost like just a completely other whole skill set.
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally be a musical artist. So what does it look like for you to proceduralize it? I think that would help a lot of people actually.
Yeah. So it is kind of a bit of a workaround. I use Fmod for the audience that is aware of the middleware. It's kind of like a software in between engine that handles the audio system. And of course, you can do it vanilla with an audio system of like Godot or Unity to proceduralize music. Basically, like maybe changing the chord or changing the pitch in that sense with a chord to manually like make your own like melody. But Fmod kind of handles it really well. How I proceduralize stuff is often I just get like random notes of a like guitar or something, and essentially like play it on random chords that make sense. Like I have to look into like music theory because again, I'm not the biggest fan of all music stuff. I have to look into like what chords do well with each other and just basically choose 5 random chords and it plays on like that random melody. And from my own experience, it works well. Like I think the first time I tried it, I was skeptical. Like I don't think it's gonna work, and like it just worked for some reason. So yeah, I just basically for proceduralization, it's just picking chords that make sense on multiple instruments, and yeah, randomizing everything.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think people will get a little bit there that maybe they can try because music is tough.
Yeah.
A couple questions that I didn't put on our list, so these might be curveballs for you, but they've just kind of come to me as we've chatted. But I'm wondering what you guys are hoping to build. What do you want Backwards Studio to become?
Well, I think looking at the conditions that we are at right now, Eric unfortunately has to go to China in a bit due to
Due to money issue. Yeah, I just lost my
That's tough.
job a couple weeks ago, and it's a tough decision. But at the same time, I no longer need to worry about financial stuff that much. So I think the goal we all have is like we want to release commercial games, and we want to keep making games in the long term.
yes.
Yeah, I think we just want to make games that we would like, right? Like games that we're excited about, and that probably means a lot of different types of games. Because I mean, yeah, the projects that we have right now, we have 3 completely different prototypes that we're working on simultaneously, and I think we just really enjoy doing that a lot. So that is hopefully what you should see more of in the future.
And of course, try to like stay alive with what we're making. Details, who cares? But like, yeah, I do agree. Along with these guys, I want to make really cool games. What may not be the best game or like the most sellable game, but it's what to us is important. And as long as like we can still live off of maybe a part-time job, like Eric was doing, or whatever it is, as long as we can still make games, I think we're all good with that.
Yeah, the only other small team that I've kind of interacted with was I got to interview Marnix from Bite Me, and I know that they do it like one of them works full time and helps when he can, and then the other two are like actually full time in the game, and so they get more revenue. So there are lots of creative ways to figure it out if you want. I hope you guys are able to continue to do that. Now you might have already kind of answered this with that question, but it is kind of the shtick of the show, so I'll leave you with this one final question. So this is the Dev Dream podcast meant to inspire, honestly, mostly myself, but also other people by hearing about cool devs and what they have going on and what they hope to do. So do you have anything to add what you just said you want to do in terms of what is the dream of game dev for each of you guys?
Did I go first?
You heard it about.
Definitely keep making games. And if I think I have a bigger dream that I want to invent a new genre, but that might be too big in this season. But in the future, at some point, I hope I can get to that point. Yeah.
Make a soundscape that is like unfathomable, you know, like it's just like extremely interactive, because I really love the procedural workflow. What I really want on whatever game I'm working on, to be honest, I don't really care that much about design for this specific dream. I just want to make a game where like people don't listen to music when they're playing the game, you know, because I do that. Like I get bored of the soundscape that I'm hearing on certain games, I have to be honest. And I just like put on music and like not get immersed onto the game and whatsoever. What I really want is that like maybe 95% of the player base or something, when they play my game or our game or whatever game, wherever I'm at, hopefully, I wish with the three of you, well, two of you guys still, is make a soundscape where it's just very, very inviting to the point where you don't even care on putting on some music, because that sound is banger. That soundscape is banger.
Yeah, and I just really want to make games that like, yeah, make you really immersed in this world, right? Like just when looking at the screen, you go like, oh my god, I want to be there. I am there. What the fuck? And that's what I really want. Just sell people like on the dream and make them hooked on that. I think that would be absolutely incredible.
Hell yeah.
Well, Eric, Ron, and Owen, those are all some fantastic dreams. I hope you're able to turn each of those into a reality. Thanks for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having us, Blake.